This is a short video to show you how you can gain transparency thanks to a visual approach if you're configured to order manufacturer. With the VAPS, you can create a simulation of your production schedule so that you can schedule and build some scenarios of your schedule without disturbing your execution. So I already created a simulation where I looked at a certain time frame. I include my released and my firm planned production orders. And now with the simulation open, I get all my data represented in a nice graphical way. As we know, Business Central does a backward scheduling against infinite capacity, whereas with the VAPS we schedule forward against finite capacity. So as we have Business Central scheduling against infinite capacity, or with infinite capacity, we always know that there are cases where we are overloading machine centers or work centers, and it is really hard to find out in Business Central where the Business Central logic with infinite capacity created an overload. Here with the VAPS this is very simple, so you can just click on these triangles, you get what we call the histogram, and then you see and you can spot cases where Business Central created more production orders than you can actually handle with your finite capacity. So I see here are some areas where Business Central wants to, or here very significantly wants to overload my machine or my work centers. So now that I found these cases, I want to schedule against finite capacity with a forward scheduler, and we can do this by adding all production orders that were added by Business Central to the schedule against finite capacity so that we don't have an overload. Once I build the schedule, I can actually look at the exceptions and I can look where I have issues. So now the next thing I want to know is that when I have scheduled with forward scheduled against finite capacity, where do I have production orders that run late? And for this we have a coloring that highlights those production orders where I have timing issues. So I see most of my schedule is green, so I have no timing issues, but here I see one that is in red, so I have a timing issue, and I see here is the due date, this is demand date, it is due in week 10, I'm finishing this in week 11. So what I may want to do is that after production, so if I'm done with sawing and with milling, I want to accelerate the subsequent steps, which I can do by saying scheduled successors. I bring them forward, and you see something got changed here, but no other production order got negatively impacted. So right now everything finishes in time. By the way, I also see production orders in orange. So those are the ones that were meant to start yesterday or the day before yesterday, and where I don't have a posting. So most likely here is a delay as well, or the guys on the shop floor forget to post. But this separate topic for a separate video. Next thing is not only timing issues but also material availability issues. So we have another color scheme that actually let us identify material availability issues. So now we differentiate green and red, and here are red production orders that tell me I have not enough material to start with production. So if we look, for example, at this production order, it is scheduled to start on the 19th of February, but with the VAPS we get information about an earliest material availability date on production or line level, and we see the material is available on the 2nd of March. So this date, if you want to know where this date comes from, we can drill down into the component lines, and we see we need 4 components. 3 of the components are available on the 31st of January, which is today, and 1 component will be available on the 2nd of February, 2nd of March. And if I look into this, if I would go to this item card, then I would see this 2nd of March comes from a purchase order. So the 2nd of March is the expected receipt date from a purchase order in the system. So how can it be that I scheduled something that is before the expected receipt date of the purchase order? Well, it could be that yesterday the expected receipt date of the purchase order was week 7, so this was green, then I scheduled it, I saved my schedule. After I did this, the vendor called and said, hey look, we won't be able to deliver in week 7, but we will deliver in week 9. So my very disciplined purchase colleague updated the expected receipt date on the purchase order now to the 1st of March, and so the earliest availability date is the 2nd of March. So if I move this, you see I get also material availability information by this gray curtain, and if I position it after the 2nd of March, it turns green. So with the VAPS, you really gain transparency, you remove data ambiguity, and you better see what is happening on your shop floor. You better understand your schedule, you see timing issues, you see material availability issues, you see where Business Central have created a bottleneck, and so you can really do targeted scheduling actions.